Welcome back, everyone. My name is Renee, the host of the Body, Mind, Strong podcast. I know, it's been quite a while, longer than I have ever planned. So first, I want to say thank you. Thank you for hanging in there, and thank you for coming back. I didn't expect this hiatus to stretch out the way it did, and I'm genuinely sorry for disappearing without much of an explanation. But I will give you that explanation today. My life shifted, my business shifted, and I needed time to figure out the direction I truly wanted to take things. So first, let's start with the company. Over the past couple years, it has gone through a few evolutions as I kept redefining, refining, and then redefining again how I could best support those who I wanted to help. My ultimate mission now is to help active, busy women reclaim their health, strength, and sense of self through integrated wellness coaching that blends health, movement, and life support into one realistic, sustainable approach. What's that mean? Basically, I want to help these busy women like you take control of their time to manage and improve their health and wellness without burning out on self care. Self care should not feel like another have to. So we'll continue to focus on the same goals, the ones that matter to you: stress management, healthier routines, mindful eating, emotional growth, fitness, lifestyle balance, weight management, financial resiliency, and so much more. So thank you for being here for the reset. I'm excited about it, and I'm excited about what's ahead, and I'm even more excited to take you with me. Now, let's focus on my own transition. So let's start with the podcast and the feeling of burnout. And I know some of you guys understand the feeling of burnout. I was starting to get burned out on the podcast, and it wasn't the podcast itself, it was how I was handling the podcast. I had that sense, and I'm sure a lot of you, and I know a lot of you can associate, is that the right word? Can relate to this, that feeling of it having to be perfect. So that 5 minute like video podcast episodes you were listening to before took me almost an hour to record, just because I was constantly redoing it. I was like, it had to be perfect, and that pressure that I put on myself, it was just burning myself out. And one thing that's happened since then is actually I just recently started another podcast with a friend, and it's going through the process of this podcast, and we just started, but something resonated with me as we started this, and it was that feeling of just being our authentic self. And that when I was recording podcasts, I was reading everything off, and it didn't feel like my authentic self. So when I was doing this one, I had this whole thing right in front of me, and I read some of it off already, but I had even more written down that I wanted to write off, and it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like me. So that was one of the things that I had to learn is I wanted to come back and do this podcast, but I wanted to feel like my authentic self, no matter if, like, I just had to let go of that notion that it had to be perfect, and I just wanted to roll with it. And another thing with my transition that I was going through is I was going through a divorce back in 2023. During that whole time, the last year I was doing that podcast. Now, the divorce was positive. So it was actually a good thing for both him and I. We both wanted it. It was a very seamless, not very seamless. It was almost seamless divorce, which you don't hear of it that often, because we both wanted it, and we just knew it was right for us. And so that was actually a positive thing for us. So just to let you know that. But what was happening through 2023 is I was recovering from that marriage. I was recovering from that divorce, both physically, not physically, well, yeah, partially physically, also emotionally and financially. So, and it was like financially, I picked up a W-2 job. I was still carrying on a private practice clients. And then I was also working on the Body and Mind Strong. So I put up on a lot on my plate just to get myself back up financially and keep things going. And then emotionally, I just had to kind of recover from that acceptance, like, hey, that chapter closed. Let's focus on who we are now and find who we are now. Because in the last couple of years of that marriage, I changed who I was as a person. I didn't like who I changed to, and I became someone that it was unknown to me, and even family members pointed that out. So that final year was just that 2023 was really trying to figure out who I was as I was handling everything going through that whole year. And I felt like I was doing great. I was improving, things were doing great. And then 2024 came and some issues happened with the W-2 job. And so I decided to hit the road and I went on this awesome, amazing trip like over the summer. And part of my goal for that road trip was to pick the podcast back up and start doing the videos, the recording, because I do live tiny. And you guys, I will bring that up a lot in all my podcasts and talk about like over when it comes to like barriers. Living tiny is a barrier, and I have to figure out how to get over it. So that's why I will bring it up a lot. But I didn't really record much. I didn't do much, and some amazing things happened. I think that was a blessing in disguise. So I'm glad I didn't really do much, and I kind of let Body and Mind Strong just sit in like kind of a hiatus mode and just hang out for a little bit. And there were some things happen, and I actually have a slideshow, right? I'm gonna throw out some pictures to show you guys because a few more things happened on that road trip because I thought I was recovering really well. I thought I was on the right path, and a few things happened that made me realize I wasn't quite where I wanted to be. And so I am going to pull that up. And so I'm just realizing I am like matching my trailer. So if you're listening to this, I'm sure you're not seeing it because I have it up on YouTube as well. But I'm actually like fashionably measuring, like matching with my trailer. I've got the whole blue thing going on. But here, I'm going to do the slideshow. And just to show you a few pictures, I mean, I took so many pictures, but I kind of wanted just to show you and kind of talk a little bit more about the self-care that I brought up earlier. And this was mine. And kind of just show you how when we think of self-care, we may have to think outside the box a little bit with self-care. So, and the reason I'm going to keep looking to my right is because I do live tiny. And in order to do a shared screen with you, which I'm going to do, I had to have two monitors, right? And I found out that I can't do that with two laptops. And if there is a way to do shared screens with two laptops, please let me know because I didn't know how that worked. But the monitor I do have is actually at my parents', which is a couple hours away. So I was like, let me try the TV. And so I actually can do the shared screen with the TV, but the TV's attached to the wall, which is on the other side of the trailer over there. And luckily, I have an HDMI cable that reaches all the way over there. So it's clear over there so I will be looking at as I need to, if I need to. So if I keep turning to my right, that's what's going on. So okay, side note, for those who want to live tiny, who want to the whole fashion of tiny homes, living in a trailer, traveling, I will tell you right now, it's not for the faint of heart. You have to adjust a lot of things. Now, I love living small. I mean, I do wish my trailer was slightly bigger, but I have adjusted to this lifestyle and I totally love it. There's times I do miss having solid walls, but you really do have to think differently when you're living tiny. You have to think outside the box. You can't expect it to be like when you're living in a house. It's just not the same. It's not better. It's not worse. It's just different. So if you do want to go tiny, you have to be prepared to shift things and you just roll with it. And that's how it is. All right. So let's share. I'm going to share. Where's my share screens? I have two shared screens. So let's go with this one. Is that one? Do we like that one or do we want this one? Nope. Let's go back to this one. This one's cooler. Okay. So this is Harley Ray. She is my chocolate lab. So sometimes I do question how much of a lab she is, which I'll come back to that one. But this is our trip we took last summer. And so let's go. How do I want to do this? Nope. We got to go back over here. All right. There we go. No. Oh, there we go. That is totally working. All right. So before we went on this major road trip, we just did this trial run. And we took a trial run and living in Arizona. So we went through the Salt River Canyon. And for those who don't know, the Salt River, the Rio Salado, is one of the few water systems we have in this state. And so going through it, when you're going through the Salt River Canyon and on this particular road, it's a steep road down, a lot of switchbacks and a lot of switchbacks going up. So it's pretty steep. So that was going to be my first test run of what my truck could handle. And I totally underestimated the truck I had at the time. And it was just totally fine. But I had to show you these first for those who aren't familiar with Arizona. Take a picture, the look on the right. Oh, side note, if you guys are listening, hopefully you'll get some more information out when I talk about self-care. But if you're not interested in because I'll be talking about the pictures, switch over to YouTube. But anyways, the picture on the right is the Salt River. And if you can't tell, that is actually the Sonoran Desert. So that is a desert right there. Now, the picture to the left, that is approximately, give or take, about 60 miles north of this riverbed right here. And it was taken a day later. So that just tells you how diverse Arizona can be. Arizona is not just one solid desert. There's a lot of diversity. We just don't have a rainforest. But you can go from desert to snow in less than an hour. It's like the craziest thing. All right. So that first test run, and that's Harley, obviously. And let's see, where am I at? Let's go here. Perfect. All right. So I took off, went to New Mexico. I had a plan. This is what I was going to do. And the entire time, my plans kept changing. I kept changing where I was going to go, where I ended up, all that good stuff. So when I got to Taos, New Mexico, I got into the mountains and I just felt myself kind of exhale. It just, that relaxation, it was just where I needed to be, was in the mountains, my trees, my pine trees. That is a huge source of self-care for me. And living in Tucson, I did not get a lot of it. I mean, I was surrounded by desert and there's a mountain here, but there's like one road up to it. So I didn't go up to it much. So from New Mexico, we went on to Colorado. So that's us, Harley and I, in Colorado. And yes, here is another picture of a river. I had to do this because for those who are from Arizona will understand this next statement. It was a riverbed with water in it. Yes, I showed you the Salt River, the Rio Salado, but there's like 2 rivers in Arizona with water in it that's in it most of the time. Otherwise, you have a riverbed throughout Arizona. And so I had to take that picture. All right, next. Now, this is my first lesson I learned when I hit this road. This picture of Harley and I, we were up in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and Wyoming and Colorado are big on like open spaces. So you can get out there, let your dog loose. It's just this open land with some tracks on it that you just walk. And it's really nice. We started hitting this a couple times. And then one day I found myself smiling for no reason. And I was like, whoa, I couldn't tell you the last time I did that. And I realized that even though I was improving the year before, I wasn't improving as much as I thought I was. And just that smiling for no reason, it really resonated with me that even though I was doing some self-care before, I was still wearing myself out with everything, with the work, everything I was doing, I wasn't improving as much as I thought it was. And so that was the picture. I took that picture when I realized I was smiling for no reason. So that was it. The picture on the right is, this is just a story. It has nothing to do with my self-care. This, for dog owners, for anyone who owns a lab, this story is for you. So I have this chocolate lab. At the time, she was 4 years old, I think, when we hit this road. And she has always been intimidated. I don't know if intimidated is the right word. She's never really liked the swimming pool. And I don't know if she sank a lot, because I think she's a sinker, but I always have to coax her to get into the pool. And anyone with a lab knows that as soon as there's water around, your lab is usually in it, right? So this first makes me question what's going on with my dog. Why is she just not automatically in the water? And honestly, I think it's because she's a sinker, which blows my mind, because labs usually float around in the water, right? And she doesn't. And so this lake, we were up in, Cody, Wyoming, and this lake was attached to the dog park, so we went there. Someone told me about it. I was like, "Sweet, we'll go there to see if we can get her in the water." She wouldn't touch that water until another dog went in, and then she was like, "Oh, I can do this." And so I was getting really excited. I'm like, "Maybe the true lab will really come out," right? And, she did this in Wyoming. We went up into was it Montana? She got into the water. We went up to Calgary. She got into the river like it was no problem. And then we hit another town, another lake that she got into it and she sank. And then she went back to being hesitant around the water. So for my lab owners, I mean, when for the dog owners, when you get a specific breed, you just assume certain traits are going to come with that breed, right? And love of water tends to be one of those you just, kind of assume your lab is going to have. And it's not like she hates water. She plays with the hose. She will get in the swimming pool in the first step and lay down. She won't get in unless we're in or someone else is in. So she doesn't quite have that love. But anyways, okay, I keep digressing, but I just had to tell that story for my dog lovers out there. Okay, this one is also just a quick side note. If you guys find yourself in Lincoln, Montana, this blew my mind, right? This is why I love, road trips. I would have never known about this. I ended up in this small town in the middle of the mountains in Wyoming just to relax, to be in the mountains, just to the coolness and just to enjoy myself, and found this town, ended up staying there for a week, and we're driving around, and I find this art walk. It's called an art walk, and this is a tiny town, by the way. And I found this art walk, and this was just a few of all the pieces that was there, just to kind of give you this what was going on here. And it's just this nice little walk in this area with all these art designs, and majority of it was made out of like stuff that they found in the woods that was on the ground, basically, is how they made it. There was a few like the top upper right that was a metal dome and they would play music in that. But like the middle one, for those who are listening, it was called a picture frame, and it is. It's just a picture frame with a bunch of wooden sticks in it, and that was art. So these were some pictures, and some of it was like the upper left shows that kind of looks like more processed wood versus stuff you just find in the woods. But it's amazing. If you guys find yourself in Lincoln, Montana, you should check out this art walk. It was just kind of cool. All right, next. All right, so after from Montana, we hit eastern. We were in Spokane, Eastern Washington, went up to Canada. Excuse me, just getting some water. Went up to Canada, spent a few weeks there. Wanted to spend more time, but that was when the US is changing its laws. So if you're taking a dog into Canada, pay attention to the pet laws now. They changed them back a couple of years ago. Was it 24? It was the August 1st to 24. So I was trying to get back before August 1st, where they needed paperwork like if you were flying with your dog. Because before all you had to do is show basic like your basic docs like immunization, stuff like that. So we got back in time, went over to Washington, and that was another just the Washington, Oregon area. I spent a few years up there, both states, several years, and I just loved it up there. The greenness. We went to like Olympia, was it Olympia, Yelm area, and that's where the picture on the right is Harley and I on a trail, and this was my favorite trail. Excuse me, my throat's getting dry. Was my favorite trail. I would go trail riding there all the time, hiking, walking, you name it. So I took her there and I felt so relaxed. It was great. I just loved it. We just ran around. We had a great time. And then from there, we hit the 101, went down. The picture on the right was Harley's first time in the water. I really wish there weren't that many people around so I can let her loose because she just went nuts in the ocean because it was her first time in the ocean. It was awesome. But this was my second lesson. We were in Oregon going down the 101. And for those who've been on it, there are some areas of the road that gets rough just by wear and tear, right? So you kind of you watch it and you kind of just move around and you have to be careful around corners and stuff like that. So we're just driving and I was driving a half ton at the truck, an F-150, and pulling my little tiny trailer, which is like I think it's like 19 feet, including the tongue. So it's tiny. And I'm just jamming out to music, paying attention to the road, doing my thing. And then we hit a bump that I did not see coming. And I am not kidding you. It felt like the truck and the trailer went off the ground, and I have to tell you this, I am a lover of off-roading. I before my F-150, I had a Tacoma for, like, almost 15 years. In fact, I have another Tacoma now because just I love getting on dirt roads. I hit dirt roads a lot just looking for trailheads, and there's just something when I'm on dirt road, I can't be the passenger, I have to be the driver. There's just something that just brings me a sense of, like, happiness, peace. It's just there's just something about hitting a dirt road and to truck that's just amazing, and more amazing in the smaller, older Tacomas and the big ones they have now, but there was just something with it that I love. So, I hit this bump, everything went up, I almost froze, focusing on the road, slowing down some, and I did a 360 scan, went all the way around the truck, I was checking the trailer, is the trailer still attached to the truck? I know it has chains, but is it chains that attach it to the truck? I'm like, "But is it on the ball of the truck? Are the doors open?" I'm like, I can look through the windows in the front and back window. I was like, "Is anything flying around on the inside the trailer? Is there any strange noises?" Checking the truck, I'm like, "How are their tires?" I'm like, "How's the dog?" Oop, she's still asleep in the back, she's fine, so it wasn't that big of a deal, but, like, I was scanning everything and then took a deep breath and started laughing, and I am not kidding you, and I'm not exaggerating here, I think I was laughing for, like, 4 to 5 minutes straight because I felt like, 1, I was off-roading, and that just released something in me. It was the craziest thing, and I realized that I still had way more to go. Even though that moment in Wyoming when I was like, "Hey," I like smiling for no reason, I'm improving and thought I was good. There was still more to go. So I'm realizing when it comes to self-care, we talk a lot about self-care, like deep breathing exercises, reading, journaling, those things, those types of things. But don't forget about all those other little things that you enjoy doing that you wouldn't naturally think of self-care. Off-roading to me is self-care, and that day proved it to me that I was like, "Okay, I need to make sure I keep doing things for me." Like, even outside the box. So, that's kind of my lesson, and I think that's the final video, right? Yep, that's the final video, so final picture. So, alright, so I'm just gonna kinda leave it there, you know, that was my lesson, that's what I've gone through for the last couple years, I'm on a roll. I mentioned I'm gonna put a shameless plug in here, I'm gonna mention this, that podcast I'm doing with a friend, we just started, but it for women business owners, and it's called Athena's Listening Crew. So if you're interested, please go check it out, and keep in mind, we just started, we have a couple that have already recorded, but we finally figured out a lot of the glitches, but the glitches finally start coming out on episode, like, 4. So, please hang in through all the other ones, but if you're interested, if you're a female business owner, check out Athena's Listening Crew. Um, and from there, let's see, next episode, I'm gonna be talking about it's gonna be about resolutions to results, so basically keeping your goals going through 2026. So, thank you again for coming back, and I will keep going. I have a plan. We are on a roll. If you guys have a topic you want me to cover, please email me at renee@bodyatmindstrong. And I think that is a wrap for now. So stay tuned for more episodes and helping you create a healthier, happier, stronger life for yourself. And make sure you're doing at least one thing today that is going to get you one step closer to one of your goals. Have a great day.